When a man reaches a status beyond fame, beyond wealth and riches, and comes to a place of mythical proportions, sometimes for history's sake, it becomes necessary to separate that myth from reality.
About Elvis. There's so many different talents we have here in America. He was a phenomenal. And this is why I can understand why people still appreciate and miss his talents and his output. When I first saw him, I was working with a group called Steve Gibson and the Red Caps. We were working in Wildwood, New Jersey. We were at the Club Martin 8, and he was working around the corner opposite Bill Haley, right? And everybody was talking about this kid, this young guy that was around the corner shaking his hips and playing the guitar and throwing his hair all over the place. I said, let me go check this out. I went around there, this guy was so handsome, man. And I'm not funny that way, let's get that clear.
The signs Elvis Presley Boulevard, they're like 50 feet in the air because of the people that go there just to steal the signs, you know. Elvis Presley Boulevard. And it's wonderful. I love the guy. The guy's fantastic. Greatest voice I ever heard. And handsome. Almost as handsome as me.
This is my favorite thing that I own, my Elvis shirt. When Elvis worked at Crown Electric, one of his first jobs, and this is his work shirt that I treasure. And we made our trip to Graceland in September. It was the first time. And I've been an Elvis fan since when he had his first concert. I was at his first concert.
Everybody loves Elvis Presley, till today. And I think they'll love him forever. Every time you listen to a song of his, every time you hear a radio, every time you see a movie, you get your flashbacks. Wonderful. It's a really wonderful feeling to listen to and watch Elvis Presley, no matter how many times you do it. Everybody loves it.
Although there had been countless sightings and endless rumors of Elvis Presley, they had all been dismissed by us as the kind of yellow journalism that makes its way onto the headlines of such tabloids as The Sun, The National Enquirer, The Star, and other rags of the lowbrow press which decorate the checkout counters of supermarkets across the nation. In a world where we are bombarded with a constant barrage of bizarre tales, we were reluctant indeed to join the ranks of Sasquatch hunters and UFO chasers. When it was reported that Elvis Presley had been sighted, and was in fact living in, of all places, Southwest Philadelphia. Yet the rumors were persistent. But how could this be? Stories of Elvis faking his own death had been alive and well ever since his funeral. So then you may ask, what piqued our curiosity? A story that had appeared in a city paper and syndicated throughout the country had reached our desk. A brutal beating of a local thug at a neighborhood bar had brought to our attention strange things indeed occurring on the streets of Southwest Philadelphia.
Man, I ain't never been put through nothing like that before. Never. That sucker slapped me around like I was a little girl.
Yeah, he slapped Joey around? I think he was a little girl.
Oh, shut your face, man. He sneaked me. Ain't nobody gonna get over on me like that. He sneaked me.
He's gotta bleed. Tell him, Joe. He's gotta bleed.
Oh, I'm gonna get that sucker. You better believe it. I'll be back. I'll be back for more of that shit. Better believe I'll be back.
First, you gotta leave the house. See, he's got this condition that makes him chicken to leave the house.
Oh, man, can't you put a lid on it?
I'm just saying, since the guy stole your balls, you don't go anywhere.
I'll be getting back out there, man. I'll be going to all the bars. I'll be poking every broad in sight, man. I just got some shit I gotta work through, man, that's all. I got some shit I gotta work through.
Hey, man, it's all right.
I got some shit I gotta work through,
turn it
man.
off.
Everybody's gonna think I'm a pussy, man.
It's all right.
They're all gonna think I'm a pussy.
Turn it off,
man.
please. Look, I'm not gonna tell you.
We were puzzled as to what force could turn a one-time street tough into a trembling and house-ridden agoraphobic.
Well, let me tell you, I was on duty that night when it all came down. Let me set the record straight. That dude Joey Esposito was asking for it. There was no sucker punch, you know. That guy just picked one too many fights that night. The other guy tore right into him. Always a gentleman, though. Paid his tab, and he just didn't take no shit.
Yeah, I remember this creep. Always giving the people in the neighborhood a lot of shit. I don't remember all the details, but I remember that kick. That was no Karate Kid kick. I watch enough pro wrestling to know what I'm looking at. That was a genuine kung fu kick.
Up to now, all that we could gather was that a man strangely resembling Elvis Presley had participated in a barroom brawl somewhere in southwest Philadelphia. It was all just speculation, and then we got lucky. We got a close-up. We traveled to the offices of Dr. Matthew Bennett, a forensic pathologist.
There was a lot of speculation as to whether such a thing is possible. But without scientific documentation, the whole theory of Elvis Presley living in southwest Philadelphia is as preposterous as, say, Bigfoot or Loch Ness Monster. But luckily we ran into a little stroke of luck. A local crew in the area caught sight of and captured on tape some amazing footage. We quickly brought it into the computer, matched it up with existing photographs of Presley. The similarities are amazing. An aged, enhanced photograph of Presley, well, it actually brings some disturbing questions in the mind of this investigator.
Armed with that information, we decided to try and learn more about this mysterious figure who now haunted the streets of southwest Philadelphia. We began our investigation with interviews of local residents who lived near the location of the sightings.
You mean old mutton chops? Yeah, we tried to get him to go down and get us some beer one time. That dude's cool. You know, he was telling us how, like, it wrecked our body. How it, like, wrecked our body and you know, if we could go down and pump some iron and hit the bag a little bit, that we could get on high on life. But anyway, you know, if you ask me, that dude's king. I think maybe you guys can go down to the liquor store for me, you know? I'll spot you a brew for your trouble.
I'm telling you, man, it had to be Elvis. It had to be Elvis. I mean, who else is going to take me out like that? I'm asking you. You see, me and Tommy here, we rented the movie Blue Hawaii, and we kept on watching it over and over again.
Nobody moves like that, man.
Nobody.
Nobody.
That was Elvis, man. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. It makes all the sense in the world. I mean, he always used to give it that little hip movement right before he threw that roundhouse kick.
It was fake until he kicked your ass.
Oh, man, shut your face. In the end, he was nothing but a cheap shot. Pop the tape in. You'll see what I'm talking about. Pop the tape in.
I would have kicked that guy's ass myself, but hey, I got a trick knee. Gotta take it easy.
It's a lot like watching Sugar Ray Leonard or John Wayne in Rio Bravo. Only a lot tougher, you know? Yeah, you knew when the dust settled that the town belonged to the Duke, and he didn't really need Dean Martin and Ricky Nelson to help him kick ass. Oh, he gave them credit, but, you know, he didn't really need them there. Yeah, he didn't like to show it, but the Duke had a soft spot.
Hey! It's Paper Man! I ain't no fucking 12-year-old kid fucking around here on a Schwinn. You know what I'm saying? Huh? You don't sport the wad I carry and be no kid. Motherfucker. How you give me respect? Respect.
Hey, man.
Son of a bitch.
Spare some cash.
Yo, man. Yo, what the fuck? Get out of here, man.
Hey,
come
man.
on, come on. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out. Go back where I came, you fucking bum. Get the fuck out of here. Son of a bitch. See what I have to put up with every fucking day of my... Get the fuck out of here. Fucking bum. See what I put up with, man, every day of my life. Asshole! Jesus Christ, all these people, man, they all want a piece of me. All want a piece of my action. Fucking vagrants, pimps, prostitutes, deviants, fags coming out of my ass. Jesus Christ. Tell you, man, I got the toughest route in Southwest. Unfucking believable. Toughest route. Oh, shit. Christ. Anyway, do I know if this guy's Elvis? You know, I don't know. You know, I'm too busy out here protecting my own ass to be stargazing, you know what I'm saying? But, there's a lot of strange shit going on around here, I'll tell you that. Strange shit.
Shit, man. The only time I know I'm alive is when somebody's got their Buster Brown buried up my ass. And it's for Elvis. Elvis is dead. God is dead, you hear me? God is dead.
Still, we were at a dead end. We had an Elvis look-alike linked with only circumstantial evidence until, finally, we had captured a voice to go with the face.
You're looking for trouble?
Perhaps one of the most important pieces of evidence to come along is the voice bite that the film crew was able to obtain. "Are you looking for trouble?" is the exact quote Elvis Presley used in the motion picture King Creole. When we ran that through our spectrographic analysis, it became quite clear that we're dealing with more than just pure coincidence here.
Now that we were closing in on the elusive figure that was haunting the streets of Philadelphia, our thirst for information intensified. We would follow him on the small streets and back alleys. The more the mystery grew, the more we became intrigued. We now began to dig even deeper.
Do I know all the shit that goes down? I'll find out where he lives. Guys, want to score some lightning?
Yeah, I could tell by the hair who he was. Saw that right off. Only one man could do it like that. A lot of imitators, but who remembers him? Tell me. Who? Yeah, I always see him walking through here. I come here a lot on my days off. See over there by that tree? That's where I first saw him. Now, I don't know if it was the sunshine in my eyes or what. It was bright out, almost blinding. Then the spacecraft just took off and left him there. But I wasn't afraid of him, though. I always said to myself, that's Elvis. He won't hurt you.
Everyone in our crew knew that we were getting close to finding the truth, and the excitement grew among us. A few more clues is all that it would take to get us into the heart of the matter. Elvis was just around the corner, and we were closing in. It was obvious to us all in the production staff that Elvis, if he was Elvis, had to have a life outside of the bars. A chance sighting at a local gym set us on the chase once more.
Well, it wasn't in the gym that I first got suspicious as to who that guy really was. A group of us were in the pool doing group motion practice one day, okay? And this guy steps out onto the platform. Had to be about 30 meters up. Next thing you know, he does a triple gainer, perfect dive, no splash. And the strangest thing was, he seemed to linger there in the air for a moment as if posing for us.
Yes, we had definitely found a place where Elvis frequented. But to our amazement and delight, we had found something more.
Karate. Oh God, yes, he was a kicking fool. The way he used to throw his legs up over his head made all the boys so jealous. Sometimes his legs would go up, up, up like they were filled with helium. But you really should be talking to that fellow over there. He's the lucky one that gets to spend all the time with the king. And as you can tell, there aren't many kings around here.
By chance, we had come to the gym on the same day as Rick Sloman. We had found out from one of our contacts that he was in fact the top man in charge of the Elvis Presley team. He was tight-lipped and tough, but we decided to hang on to this one lead for as long as we could.
The fuck are you looking at? Goddamn jerk-offs, man. Man. God damn it. You guys get the fuck out of here.
Yo, what the fuck are you always doing in here? Hey, what are you doing with that in here? Don't you know this is a private area? Give me that! I told you not to touch my magazines, pervert! I'm calling security.
Finally, we had made our first solid connection to the elusive ghost that could possibly be Elvis Presley.
Yeah, I'm fan number one.
Oh, man.
I mean, when I was a kid, my mother took me to see Kissing Cousins at the Elvis retrospective, and it was the hottest thing that I ever seen. I mean, I was practically a baby. When Elvis started gyrating, shimmying those hips, my little heart almost came out. I mean, if it's possible for a toddler to get aroused, I think I was aroused. I seem to remember my mother being embarrassed. So when the rumors began to circulate that Elvis was in fact living in Southwest Philadelphia, I didn't think it was any way true, but part of me wanted to believe. Sure, he's put on a few extra pounds, and his hair is graying well, but he's still got the juice. He certainly does have that.
Finally, we came across someone who seemed like he was on the same quest. His name was Bill Morrison, a detective with theories of his own.
I'll tell you what I think, if you give a rat's ass. You got a guy looking a hell of a lot like Elvis Aaron Presley, hiding out somewhere in Southwest Philadelphia. Well, let's just say for argument's sake that's true. Who do you suppose is buried in that box back in Memphis? And more importantly, how did he get into that box? You see, I was just a pup with the Memphis police force when it came down. And right from the beginning, I wasn't buying into any of it. Well, what the hell did I know? I was just some stupid rookie who was left to play with himself, while the higher-ups got to go out to Graceland, meet with the colonel, and eat fine pastries while the whole world mourned the death of the king. I tell you, it was fishy then, and it's fishy now. Oh, everybody's saying how poor Elvis suffered. Well, I'm thinking about the poor transient or mental patient that they shanghaied to substitute for the king's grand finale.
Detective Morrison informed us that there were others who had in fact been touched by this haunting incarnation. A young drifter by the name of Travis Hardy had traveled halfway across the country because of the persistent rumors of Elvis sightings.
It was cold as a bitch when I first got here, and the decision to stay wasn't an easy one. But I heard Mr. Presley, he'd been seen right here in these parts. Mostly, I miss Mama's cooking and our watchdog Frisky. Mama's what got me to seek out Mr. Presley. You know, she wanted me to follow that dream. I guess she seen that the welfare check wasn't enough to cover all the recording sessions and all the grub I've been chowing down since I started sprouting up into puberty. I mean, we'd already cut back on Frisky's rations, and let me tell you, hound dogs get awfully mean when all they got is good intentions and a half can of leftover brisket to fill their bowels. Later, Mama started putting the pressure on me to go out and get a job, and see, but the way I figured was that I needed that time to get my fingering down right for when my big break came through. I mean, I tried working at the mill for a week, and I got a fair share of dirt under my fingernails. Now, I told Mama, I said, you know, she told her she's gonna have to go back to the seatbelt factory so we could earn enough money at least to buy a ham bone for that sorry stew she'd been brewing over ever since Daddy ran off with Aunt Claire to New Orleans. So when she told me I was gonna have to leave the nest, it's time to spread my wings, I figured she was mourning over Daddy's indiscretion, and that soon she would be over that episode. But, you know, before that could happen, she had the sheriff come to the door and escort me to the county line.
I got a couple of cans of tuna left and half a loaf of white bread left in my sack. Oh, hung on this $5 here for the stormy times ahead. There's times when I will truly curse Daddy and that tramp Aunt Claire.
Our search was extensive and led us to the conclusion that a man, even such as Elvis, would be inclined to need health care on occasion. Reported sightings at the offices of Danzig and Metzger brought us face to face with the two men who supposedly did regular dental maintenance for the king.
We already told the people of 60 Minutes that while our patients are asleep, the only thing we're drilling are the teeth. Shut up! That's for the records. All I can say is that information's confidential.
You know what happens if people ask too many questions? Maybe you ought to leave before we give you some of this treatment. Shut up, you deadbeat. Your last damn check is up.
Novocaine! You want Novocaine? Novocaine costs money, Stonewall!
Stories of Elvis and his conquests had been rumored since the early days of his ascent to the throne. So we were more than mildly interested when local woman Wanda Cates spoke of the king's improprieties.
When I first met Elvis, I knew he was a damn pervert. He was sitting across the room trying to get a look at my dress. And we got to know each other and we got intimate. And he tried to do that Kama Sutra shit on me. And I said to him, this is a broad with integrity. And no way, baby, I'm an American.
Just the ramblings of a demented woman crying out for attention, wanting to make that link to immortality that was the king of rock and roll? Or was this merely the bitterness of a woman torn by the despair of an uncaring and unfeeling Elvis? And as we dug deeper, we discovered that there were more, many more, who had been touched in some way by the king, many of them women.
Sure, he was hot and saucy in his tight white pants, and I knew from first glance just who he was as I stared at him through the bottom of a half-empty beer glass. Time hadn't changed him that much, and I was no fool. He was a 4-alarm fire just waiting to happen, and I was just the kindling he needed to get his flames a-blazing. He could use me, abuse me, and kick me down the stairs when he was through. With a man like that, a woman can afford to lose a little dignity, along with her 2 front teeth.
First met Elvis a while ago in this little strip joint I worked for. He'd buy everyone drinks and shower all the girls with attention. I didn't recognize him at first, but you could tell it was him. When he first walked in, you couldn't see him with all the men waving dollars about, throwing dollars down your G-string. Yeah, tips. I didn't enjoy it, but I made a good living.
Elvis ruined my life any way you look at it. He invaded the sanctity of my loving home, tore apart my loving family. My mama was constantly collecting all that Elvis memorabilia, constantly cluttering the home with her obsession. One day, she heard a rumor that Elvis was alive and well and living in Philadelphia, of all places. Yeah, she made Daddy move us all up to the city of brotherly love. Didn't even occur to that man they didn't have a job or a pot to piss in.
It was a cold and wintry day. I'd been in labor for what seemed like an eternity. The doctor said I had real endurance. I was a trooper. It was a bleak time for me indeed, and I felt myself to be alone in the world. Then as the tears welled up in my eyes, and my shrieks of pain echoed throughout the operating room, I saw a figure appear in the door. It cast an eerie yet comforting shadow across the surgery floor, and I focused on that and that alone. For what else did I have? It was the only thing that kept me from cursing a child as it spewed forth from my pelvis into an uncaring world. Yes, you guessed it. It was Elvis's love child, and I'd been the woman chosen to bring it into this world.
I didn't know what to think at first. I mean, I was pretty nervous. You know, he's the king. You know, I was just some tramp trying to collect some spare change from all the derelicts who are out there trying to boo me for quarters and snorts a vintage Thunderbird. He tries talking me down in price. But I'll tell you something about the Southwest Philly girls. We have our pride. So I jacked the price up 10% above scale. And I managed to hustle a zircon brooch out of the deal.
Knowing Elvis's penchant for the pretty ladies, we had heard rumors of many conquests since his arrival on the shores of the Schuylkill. It was also hinted that he might be supplementing his incredible drives with trips to a certain exotic video store. We knew that such stores were incredibly tight-lipped when it came to the confidentiality of their clientele. But we felt it important to follow this lead and take a chance that we might find some cooperation.
Yeah, you know, Elvis is into that salt and pepper shit.
What the fuck are you talking about, Ron?
This is my stock boy, Barry.
This is senior stock.
He's a fucking stock boy, but he's got a good heart.
And chief of quality control, don't forget that shit.
Yeah, that's his excuse for sitting on his ass all day sifting through the old Tracy Lords tapes. You know, the feds are still trying to recover a lot of that shit.
Let him come knocking. I got mine duped.
Yeah, you know, he usually comes in here when, pretty much when the new tapes roll in. You know, that Elvis, he's not into that Devil, Miss Jones, deep throat shit that's older than he is.
Hey, my mom's not gonna see this shit, right?
He's more like, you know, why not check out the shit that's young and fresh? Makes sense. I mean, it gets kind of depressing, lustering after tits that are, like, sagging lower than the equator.
No, seriously. My mom, she's not gonna see this shit, right?
No, seriously, my mom.
Anyway, like I was saying, Elvis is really into the salt and pepper stuff.
What the fuck are you talking about? He likes it spicy and hot, but he is...
All right, look, Big Shot. Just let me inform you that I saw him here the other day.
I'm not saying Elvis could have done very well in the porn industry if he wasn't such a good actor.
Elvis wouldn't have done porn, you dickhead.
I'm just saying, Ron, that
you know,
he could have...
in a way, he's right. I mean, Elvis did have the movements, you know, the gyrations of the pelvic area necessary to...
That's the hips. That's what I'm saying. It's the hips, like that Bruce LaBruce dude.
Bruce LaBruce.
Like he's got
Bruce
the
LaBruce
penetration
is a
in
fucking
the
gay
hip.
porn star, you dumb fuck.
What are you worried? You know, your mom, you worried your mommy's gonna find out that you're coming down here every day, what, checking out the golden shower selection?
What the fuck, man?
Take it easy. Like, your mom's been around. You take one look at his mom, you know she's been around.
Hey, it's my mom you're talking about, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, and your mom don't know that you're yanking your Woody every night.
No, I don't yank my Woody.
Yeah, all right.
I'd say Elvis cares about good cinematography, you know, good plot line. And I've never had to clean up a booth after that,
The
man.
man reeks of class.
Barry, there's a spill in booth 4.
How do you know that shit?
Trust me, there's a spill in booth 4.
Still, it seemed that the women whose hearts Elvis had truly touched were not all forgiving as those found in the video store.
I'm not a tough broad. In fact, I'm a very sentimental fool. And Elvis took advantage of that like a moth clinging to a vine. First he tells me how beautiful, sexy, and hot I am. And the next thing you know, he's parading back and forth with all these birds. It was like he knocked me down and kicked me in the teeth.
It didn't matter that Daddy had 11 children and no food in their bellies, and barely a stitch to cover their behinds. And don't those winters get cold in the city of brotherly love when the gas company comes a-calling to turn off the heat? Looking for warmth was the reason I fell into the arms of Tyrone Malcolm Jamal. My one and only true love. That's when I got myself in the family way and my uterus dropped.
So I'm a sap and glutton for punishment. You know, I say life is too short to waste time wondering what gutter you left your bride in, especially when you're waking up in a mattress that once bedded the king.
You can well imagine the heartbreak of both of us. I believe to this day that it was the pain in his heart of having spawned this mutant child that led him to the depths of despair. He was the king, and yet he had created this thing. The doctors quickly ushered the baby off to another part of the hospital. They did not want me to lay my eyes upon the horror that Elvis and I had created.
Last I heard, Tyrone had himself a little stand downtown. He was selling first-run movies right off the table. That Tyrone. He was a high achiever, despite the white man's socioeconomic stranglehold on his ambitions.
So what if now you're in a cheap hotel room and the booze has gone sour, and before the light of day breaks through that dusty window, he's moved on to greener pastures? You still have that night of passion to keep you warm when the world has grown cold and your old man has returned home from one too many business trips with rouge on his collar and he's too tired to keep you company. I say to hell with pride. You know, the scotch goes down a lot easier without it.
I know what you came to ask me. Did I sleep with him? Even in Elvis's golden years, he was a flaming inferno of passion. I loved him. He got me into this place. He got me away from all the drugs, the uppers, downers, mushrooms, speed, lewds, pills. Whatever it was, I just did it. Shot it, drank it, snorted it, smoked it. And, you know, he got me away from all that. I've been clean for about 3 weeks.
So it's the dead of winter, wind chill 20 below. I try to get the king to take me in for a few nights. You know, at least till my nipples could thaw. I mean, Christ, you're taking a cat when it's Arctic temperatures blowing, you know? And it's not like I wasn't willing to pay up front, if you catch my drift. I shaved my legs and everything for this man.
Tell you, if it's true, if Elvis is alive and living in this great city, I'd like to find the bastard and ask him to fork over some money to send little Muhammad Abdul to the orthodontist.
I love him. He means the world to me. I wish he would stop by more often. I know he's busy. I know he cares. I know it.
I guess it was guilt that made Elvis move back to Philadelphia and seek me out and try and make amends. But I could never let him touch me again. I was too afraid. Afraid for myself. Afraid for humanity. Our love was too dangerous. And I told him I could never see him again.
So, with Jack Frost nipping at my ass and hypothermia about to set in, he tells me that we'll hook up again when the magnolias blossom after the spring melt-off. I had to pawn my brooch to get me inside. And that's when I found out that the damn thing was paste.
There's been some dispute as to who the real father was. The baby did have some features that were close to those of Elton's. I do believe that I was his only heterosexual experience.
He puts me in this dump. He's treating me like some cheap whore, just like one of those other guys, just throwing me around. He hasn't called, he hasn't he hasn't stopped by, and it's really upsetting me. I mean, I can't function without him. I'm just nothing.
We were getting closer, But still, the physical being of Elvis continued to elude us. Our doubts were beginning to grow once more, and why not? The grounds for such a dubious task were fertile. We decided to enlist the aid of others to further investigate this curiosity. As part of our venture, we would delve into the roots of this amazing cultural phenomena. As we were trapped between fantasy and reality, we came to that place called limbo.
The truth is that Elvis fits in perfectly with the whole cultural myth scenario. The stories are practically interchangeable within the myth of the cultures. Jesus, Elvis, Elvis, Jesus. Throughout the history of mankind, these sort of phenomenon have been around. From the ancient Egyptians and the Hittites, even before then with the prehistoric troglodytes.
The reasons one might take such an evasive action from society are simple and many. For a man such as Elvis, it is easy to see. One minute you're a handsome leading man, worshipped by millions of fans, the top entertainer in the field, and you're at the top of it all. The next minute, you're looking down and you can't even see the feet which are holding you up on that very same planet. The decline which the aging process brought on merely ushered those symptoms to the front of the line of a long list of problems that belong to Elvis.
One day, my mystic orb conjured and revealed only my own disturbed reflection glaring back at me. And at that moment, I had a flash of divine insight, and I came to feel a sense of oneness with this great pretender, which was in fact the spirit incarnate of Elvis Presley.
We found that the terrain was evenly divided. Not all were fans of the king. It was from those in opposition that we gained some of our deepest insight.
Now, there are a lot of people out there comparing Elvis Presley to the second coming of Jesus. Now, if God had seen this boy wiggling his hips and acting like a damn fool, he would have put his almighty foot down. I know darn well I would not be sending no boy of mine out there to die for me unless he could keep lock and key on his pelvic region and act in a respectable manner. Next thing you know, you're gonna have people walking around with cast iron medallions of Elvis on the hopper, believing a flushing gesture to be their passport through the pearly gates. Damn fools, the lot of them.
Go on. Go on and tell me the difference between the music of Elvis Presley and that of the Negro farmhand picking cotton in the fields. He not only stole from the Negro's primitive ramblings, but he took that jive honky-tonk straight out of hell and brought it right into the lives of the white man. He cross-referenced us with the likes of Howlin' Wolf and Little Richard's tutti-frutti bullshit till the white man had no recollection where he put his own culture. And the total disgrace of that is that it was used to seduce white women. Your sisters, my mama, and Great Aunt Gert, who ain't been right since she ran off with the colored jukebox repairman, who shouldn't have been sitting across from her in the first place in the Sleepy Hollow Bar and Grill. What the hell was he doing in there anyway? I mean, there was a time when coloreds wouldn't even step foot in that joint. I mean, it'd be a surefire lynching just for having his dark shadow fall across the path of one of our white beauties. But that was in the old days, the days before Elvis and that hippity-hoppity fast-stepping wiggle those hips till I can't see straight days. I'll tell you something else you might not have guessed. Elvis was an old-count race trader.
I have a muffin that was left in the back of, or supposedly left in the back of, Elvis's limo in Las Vegas. His limo driver gave it to me, but I have no way to prove it, so I'm not going to talk about that. I have a pair of shoelaces that Elvis supposedly wore the night he met Priscilla. If you look closely, you can see a ketchup stain on there. He was eating a cheeseburger, and some residue fell onto the floor, and then onto the shoelaces. Besides that, I think the date went pretty well. Don't you? Don't touch that. And here, I have a piece of toast that I found at a tray at Boston Market. It still has a little cigarette ash on it, but it's so delicate, I dare not touch it. The egg stain on it makes it look like an abstract Picasso piece, but if you just stare at it, look past that, kind of diffuse your vision. It's very reminiscent of Mr. Kurt Russell, his incredible television portrayal of Elvis's life.
We've extracted such stories from the cave walls where there'd be fire in the sky, and then a minute later a chimpanzee would scurry past, all signifying some kind of spontaneous birth to the primitive mind. It was as if the monkey had fallen from the sky. Compare this to the sighting of the Star of Bethlehem, and one begins to soon put the pieces together. Did Elvis create man, or did man create Elvis?
And I would speculate that the division of past and future would also create a split in personality. I like to call it the superhero syndrome. Let's take Spider-Man for instance. One minute you can scale giant buildings and go to battle against the wicked. Later that day you're Peter Parker, a teenage boy with acne and a hard time getting a date. It always seems strange to me that Parker had trouble dealing with things in that area. Yeah, the reasons are obvious to the trained eye, but just the same, he should learn to accept himself.
One night, I was mystically summoned by an unseen force to the local shopping bag. And without rhyme, without reason, my spirit was ushered through the sliding glass doors. And in a strange twist of fate, in the dairy section, there he was. And his aura illuminated the entire frozen yogurt case.
Well, my sister Leslie, she ain't not permitted to step foot inside the saloon, not since Aunt Gert went and got the jungle fever on us. I mean, my daddy don't want her turning into no two-timing whore and slut like some others I hear tell. Been lured into the Negro lifestyle and into the arms of such men as Sammy Davis Jr. And why not? It's a challenge to a man like that. Half black, half Jew. The world weighs heavy on shoulders like that. And so naturally, the only joy that can lift that burden is the sweet and tender loins of a white woman's forbidden fruits. Go on, read it. It's in your Bible.
Sometimes, when they make an abduction, and I'm talking about extraterrestrial life forms, they fuck with your brain synapses so you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You're like a zombie, man, at the whim of the little guys with the webbed feet and the anal probes. It's gotta hurt.
And at the end of the world, when the world is consumed by the flames of the apocalypse, and all the good Christians are queued up to be taken up into the raptures, Elvis will come down on a white horse at the right-hand side of Jesus to save us all. Makes about as much sense as any of it. Myth transcends logic, reason, and evidence. Therein lies the power of religion. Is Elvis alive and well and living in Southwest Philadelphia? In a mystical wasteland wrapped in ignorance, anything is possible.
Now the Bible says that God sent his only begotten son. Not Elvis Presley, not Mick Jagger, not some dope J.C. Cool Money wanting to bust the coochie of his gangster bitch rapper to cleanse our immortal souls. Now if you think that God, the creator of this universe, would send a messenger of his word with guitar in hand, blue suede shoes, and a long line of grade B entertainment movies for that purpose, my friends, you are sorely mistaken.
What we have is a whole psychosexual scenario reminiscent of a Greek tragedy. It is classic in every sense. Try and recall Narcissus peering long and hard into the cool, clear pond at his own beauty, only to be enveloped by the image of himself. Now, Imagine that you're Elvis, looking down into that pool after the hard years of an unforgiving lifestyle have started that once beautiful flower to wilt and fade in the heat of the baking sun. No longer able to love the once beautiful boy staring up at him, he assumes, and perhaps all too correctly, that no one else could love him either. Yet, the one love that he needed the most kept staring back at him with bitter and cold disappointment.
I mean, the animal passion, the hot black flesh, the giant hangdowns is intoxicating if a woman ain't got her head on straight and Jesus in her heart. It's the end of Western civilization, I tell you. And leading the way, waving that banner of decadence, was Elvis Presley. And I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't a bunch of Jews put him up to it.
At first, I cowered when I viewed him. Who else could rise from the dust to transcend the gates of death? He's returned to show us the way. He told me that one day I'd be sitting by his right hand in the spiritual realm. No heavenly brilliance adorned him, only the fluorescent glow of the flickering light above the fat-free cheese, but it was all the illumination I needed to see he was the one true Elvis.
In essence, we needed Elvis to die for our sins. Not to cleanse this elusive thing we call a soul or astral body. We wanted him to be born again for us. It's what separates us from the rest of the animal world, our ability to believe ourselves immortal. I expected it. But strange how he shows up at Southwest Philadelphia. I predicted his first appearance would be in Jerusalem.
We were barraged with opinions, encounters, and empty streets, all filled with the promises of the king of rock and roll. Theories that at first seemed to be preposterous now seem to be gaining ground in their plausibility with our crew.
Now, the way I see it is you got Elvis on the job. Now, we have an approximate time when he went in, but that's not important. Unless you consider the fact that a person resembling Elvis was seen walking the grounds at precisely the same time. Now, if Elvis was constipated, as diagnosed by a forensic pathologist, it just makes you wonder now, don't it? How a man could be in the garden who ain't took a dump in 2 weeks, all casual and relaxed and smelling the daisies, as witnessed by members of the New Antioch Evangelistic Choir, and then seconds later be halfway across the mansion, on the hopper, struggling to the bitter end.
Fuck. You guys get the hell out of here. Jesus Christ. Just get the hell out of my back, man.
What the hell is this all about?
What's
What's going? Hey, are you the guys doing that Elvis thing?
Shut up, Frank.
Elvis likes Spider-Man, a lot, man.
Shut your face, Frank.
I mean, go mind your own business, Sloan. Go in the back. Go buy something. Do something useful. You guys ask away. Elvis still owes me money for the Dark Knight Returns, and he still hasn't paid me.
Hey, man, he pays his bills, all right?
Yeah, I don't mind him. He's pissed off since Archie and Betty broke up.
Look, I pay my bills, all right? So harass me.
Yeah, like those 3 Green Lanterns a month are gonna line my pockets, Sloman.
Look, man, I buy all your collector cards. I got every fan club going in here, huh?
And what? And what else? Anyway, neither do I. Anyway, Elvis, I think, likes Spider-Man because Spider-Man's alter ego, Peter Parker, is, he's kind of like a misfit. He doesn't fit in with everybody else, and I think he's a little confused about his sexual orientation. And
That is such bullshit, Frank.
Yeah, it's all there if you would just read between the lines, Sloman. So anyway, Peter Parker, he's never in a stable relationship. He's always breaking up with some girl because he's late or some other bullshit. And I think there's something a lot deeper.
Take it out, man. Take it out. Take it out. Oh, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop it. Situation's under control, folks. Turn that camera up. You're gonna get child welfare in here. Stop it. Huh? We keep stealing from you, Frank. You steal off me, you little shit. You little shit. You steal off of me. You don't think they're the kids in Arabia for this crowd? They cut their hands off. You know they do the pretty boys like you in the slammer. Get him in the back. Get him in the back. I told you the back. me, Frank. Come on, get in the back.
You, out of here. Out of here. Get out. Get out. You two. You didn't see anything. Get out. Get on. I ain't kidding around, man. Get out.
On! Of course we wanted to intercede, but the unwritten law of the documentarian is to take the position of invisibility and non-involvement. We of course wish the best for the little boy in the store, but consider our liability to end there. Although Detective Morrison's conspiracy views seemed a little far-fetched, we found that he was not alone in his opinion of wrongdoings at Graceland.
What I'd like to say to Mr. Elvis Aaron Presley is that I am waiting and praying for him to make his first big mistake. And I want him to run. I truly want him to try that. And I'll give him the same chance as he did that poor sap who's feeding the worms in this place back in Graceland.
Or it could be the same guys that killed Jack and Ted Kennedy whacked Elvis. You know, that's what I think. I mean, think about it. Use your head. Elvis knew shit. Dangerous shit. A lot of shit I probably shouldn't be talking to you guys about. Huh? You don't know me. I don't know you. You could be CIA, right?
Seems to me that the Colonel had the most to gain by killing off Elvis. Have that tramp Priscilla in the mansion all to himself. Fat bastard. Fat bastard.
Do I think he done it? Anybody that treats a woman the way that fat bastard did is capable of anything, even murder.
Man, I know Elvis did it. I know he did it. He took away my life, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, with one cowardly attack, he tried to take away my manhood. But that's one thing he couldn't have. I could still have any woman I want. I still got my cojones.
Yeah, it ain't much, but that's all God gave him.
Will you shut the fuck up? Just shut the fuck up, man. Jesus Christ. Shut the fuck up.
Had Detective Morrison in fact come upon the strange and perverse plot by the king himself? We were intrigued, although we had come across several strange theories in our travels, and many such mysteries. If Elvis was in fact alive and well, then someone else was indeed buried in that grave back in Memphis. Even though a lot of doors were slammed in our faces, we did manage to elicit some startling insights.
Well, the whole thing is so much bullshit. I was present at the autopsy and examined the body personally. And let me tell you that this was not my first experience in working with Mr. Presley. You see, some years before, I had helped remove a suspect mole from the pelvic area of Mr. Presley just prior to his filming of Jailhouse Rock. Now, many people have asked me about that procedure. And as a physician, the only thing I can say without violating the patient privacy code is that Elvis Presley was kingly in more ways than one. And the man that went to Presley's grave was just as kingly as that man whose mole I removed in my surgery.
Now, Mr. Presley, he is a gentleman and an artist of the highest caliber. Now, I could see killing for Elvis, but I cannot imagine him taking part in such a heinous crime. It is unthinkable. You just listen to his words. Love me tender, love me true. He's saying to the world, he is reaching out to the world with love.
Perhaps it's just my knowledge of mankind that gives me special insight. But when I see a dog is dirty, then I gotta cut him down where he stands. Now, I don't know who's buried in that box back in Memphis, and I guess in the long run it don't mean a hill of beans. But in my head, somebody's been done wrong. Sure was a little guy, Maybe he took a wrong turn down the wrong road. Maybe he's got nobody that gives a rat's ass that he stepped off the edge of the planet. And maybe I'm crazy for caring. But that's the kind of knucklehead I am. You want to piss on the poor? You want to stomp on the downtrodden? You go right ahead. But you know for sure that somewhere, lurking in the shadows, is a square Joe who's willing to step in and kick the bad guy in the stomach. And that man is Detective Mike Morrison. Private Dick.
We were still searching for closure and an end to all this mystery. Then one day our producer received an urgent phone call to meet someone who claimed that he could supply all of the answers. This informant asked not to be identified, and we have honored that request by photographing him with his back to the camera and voice distortion.
He would switch down mint juleps at an astronomical rate, trying to relive the glory days when having a mansion in the South meant something. He started insisting the servants call him Massa, and threatened to whip several of their behinds when he found that they were using the indoor plumbing facilities.
Won't you be my teddy bear tonight? There he just wants to hold on to society and just give it one big hug.
And this wasn't some half-baked idea that some nutcase from the National Enquirer cooked up. I did my job. I did my research. Studied long and hard the archival footage of the so-called king. Even checked out some of the lesser-known titles like Speedway and Stay Away Joe. Christ, I wish I had stayed away from that one. And as I began to put the pieces together, I began to get a bad feeling in my bones, and the little hairs in the back of my neck stood up like I had drifted into dangerous waters. Sounds crazy, you know, me chasing and looking after a dead guy. But all the time I had the strangest feeling that somebody was looking back.
Sometimes when I'm alone at night, Elvis, he comes to me. Yeah, Elvis, he comes to me. Are you lonely? Do you miss me? Tonight.
There was chaos in paradise, let me tell you. The locks were chained on all the doors in case the Negro slaves decided to make a run for it. Then we tried to tell E that it was no longer legal to keep them boxed up like that. Well, he wouldn't hear of it. He claimed that the Underground Railroad had taken his best workers away, and that the cotton had gone sour from sitting too long in the hot fields. He placed a price on the head of any slave seen wandering on the north side of the mansion fence. It was out of hand, I tell you. Well, the end looked clearly in sight.
It appeared as if there was a battle going on for the truth, and that we had become trapped right in the middle.
It was a talent that was suddenly being tapped. The colonel probably exploited him, so all the parasites, they jumped on his back. But they were just doing their thing. Parasites are parasites are parasite, right?
The truth of the matter is, it's not as easy to replace a body in a morgue as one might think. That would require the conspiracy on the part of all the physicians that are involved. And let me tell you right now, nobody goes through 12 years of grueling medical school just to push pills and toss some poor transient into an early grave. What kind of a man would that be? A man who has dedicated his life to saving lives. A man who has taken the Hippocratic Oath. And let me tell you, I have been offered thousands of dollars for that mole that sits in a bottle of formaldehyde on my mantel, and I have turned down every red cent. That mole is going to be my gift to my little sissy on her wedding day.
In all of the confusion of the mystery that had confronted us from the very onset of this project, we did not lose sight that there was still a strong support group for Elvis, and to them, he had not lost the trust that had been given so long ago.
This is all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Frank Sinatra's not going to be a legend. I'm not saying this person's not going to be a legend. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that these people were great entertainers. They were on the high peak and then they died. They were never at a low peak in order for them not to be remembered. That's all I'm saying. This is why from generation to generation to generation, everyone loves Elvis Presley. Everybody watches Elvis Presley movies.
He's a legend. He's a legend. I love him.
But Elvis was Elvis is Elvis. That's what he was. The man became bigger than life.
Since I've been out on my own, I made the rounds, you know, agents and managers and disc jockeys, just to get them to listen to what I had to offer. And I swear I had more doors slammed in my face than an encyclopedia salesman. I started to feel like one of them Jehovah's Witnesses in the airport lobby. But I know if I could just get to Mr. Presley and, you know, cannot let this out of my hands. This is master copy. I had to sell Mama's winter coat just to get it made. Billy Bob, he cut me a deal and he let me keep the original. Elvis, you're my only true friend. You know, I love you so, Elvis. Elvis, you're the one I love. It's okay to love another man, especially when it's Elvis. I know what you're thinking of. Elvis, you're the man I love. Oh, Elvis, I'm here for you. Elvis, you're the man I love.
Hey, you, get out of here. Come on, move. No hanging here. Let's go.
Even with all of the good energy that this mythical Elvis seemed to have brought with him, we as documentarians could not abandon our true purpose of searching for the truth.
And I've been looking for clues ever since I got to Philly. But let me tell you something, this man covers his tracks well. And what better disguise is there than to blend myth and legend with reality? Everybody just thinks you're some hick with a probe up your ass and another saucer sighting. So the truth gets buried with Bigfoot and the psychic hotline bullshit.
Oh, the plot was insane, of course. And some of us had the good sense to be horrified. And we tried desperately to talk him out of it. I mean, I was just a low man on the totem pole, so my words fell on deaf ears. A homeless drifter was welcomed into the arms of the mansion.
So what was available to me? A clip of hair? A blood sample? Some sperm? That'd be too much to ask for?
He was kinda thin to fit the bill. So we started feeding him. Fat dogs, chicken cutlets, Twinkies till they came out of his ears. Anything is a little heart desired.
But I did discover the king had one weakness. And I was onto that like a gypsy moth on a cashmere sweater. It appears that Elvis cannot leave the past fully behind. Sure, he had dumped Priscilla. Sure, he had flushed fame and fortune down the tubes. But I looked long and hard because I know every man's got one weakness. And it was the one narcotic that Elvis could not wean himself off of. Entertaining.
Yeah, you resisted a little. Oh, but he was cruelly reminded that the luxury of food wasn't always gonna be there. And so he ate and he ate.
He had pushed it all aside. But I discovered he still had to do that. The roar of the grease paint, the smell of the crowd. Show business. It had bit him on the ass. And now it was in his blood.
Oh, what was his name? I guess we never wanted to deal with that. To be honest with you, we didn't want to know if he had a family or friends. So I know we didn't want to know his name.
So tell me, how hard would it be for someone with the kind of wealth and power of Mr. Presley to take some poor transient off the street, fatten him up, and shove his unloved and now the soul's going to miss his sorry ass butt into an early grave? Money exchanges hands. Officials turn their backs. Voila! Brand new life in a glorious new setting.
Oh, we were all after him to just retire. Take the stress off of himself, for God's sake. But he wouldn't have any part of it. If the king was gonna leave the stage, it was gonna be an event.
Things were all bent out of shape the day they brought Elvis into the morgue. There'd been a 3-car accident out on Route 309. The Carter woman had just had twins, and I had just removed hemorrhoids from old man Beauchamp for the 5th time. It had been a grueling day, and I was just ready to go on home and die when they brought the king in on a stretcher. Was I paying attention? Well, when you've been on duty for 36 hours, you're hoping the next one that comes through the door is dead so you can roll over and go back to dreamland. Was it him? Hell, it had to be. I signed the paperwork, didn't I?
To our surprise and delight, Detective Morrison had found a lead that would send us to the location of Elvis's next concert.
Now, these punks, they ain't much good for anything except taking up space and squawking like pigeons when you grease their palm. Now, this bird, he was singing for a song, and I liked the tune he was whistling. So I take you with me, and we got proof, right? Hey, kid, I want you to tell these gentlemen what you yapped to me just a few minutes ago.
Look, man, you promised me a $5 for blowing a whistle on that fat dude.
What do I look like, some dime store hood? You said you had the info for a price. Now, I already lined your pockets with more than glad tidings and want you down a bottle of grade A hooch that I spotted for. So if you want to play me like a cheap trick, I can just about guarantee you're going to wake up eating your lunch through a nose tube.
Yeah, that shit was watered down like cheap mouthwash.
Spit it out, punk, before I serve you up a nice helping of knuckle sandwich and misery pie.
I'm just a kid. I'm just a kid.
Well, kid, you've just been tried and convicted as an adult minor. You guys got a problem with that? If I whack this punk.
Where's your fucking humanity? Where's your...
It's a bitter cold world, kid. Now, you already got me for the first 10 spot and enough cheap booze to drown 12 little shit your age. I played you straight from the very beginning. You led me down the winding path like a Catholic girl on prom night. I only got one thing left to give you. It's cold. push hard, he'll drill a hole in you the size of a grapefruit.
Frank! Frank!
It's a gun, you idiot! Now, I need the info.
Look, all I know is old Mutton Chops. He's down
This
at
better not be
71st
another
Street.
defile shit.
I swear. Alright? There's a lot of strange shit going on down there. I swear to God.
Okay, if you're spinning my wheels, I'll be back. Okay. Without witnesses this time. Oh, you can have your little white trash buddies around. You want to make this sport. I'll just figure them into the equation. And consider all counts paid in full. Now, get out of here. Get out of here! Now, we got him.
Detective Morrison had taken us to the very spot where Elvis was due to appear, and all we had to do was wait to receive the grand prize of the living Elvis. Our arrangement was to meet with Morrison that night at 8. Only something strange occurred that we have no explanation for. Detective Morrison did not show up, and for several days after that we waited. But neither Elvis or Morrison was to be seen. We now had two mysteries on our hands: the possibility of a living Elvis roaming the streets of Southwest Philadelphia, and the vanishing of the man who had relentlessly pursued him from a suspect gravesite in Memphis. Some people's response to the alleged crime of Elvis was unexpected.
Karate does develop the killing instinct in a man, but it's also balanced with the passivity that comes from knowing that you have the power to take a man's life. In other words, the man knew he had the power, so he didn't need to use it. I myself focus on my mantra in order to contain the anger that rages inside me.
Oh, don't go jerking my chain, man. People disappearing around here all the time. It's like the black hole of Cancun or some shit. I'm telling you, this place is a fucking hotbed of subversive activity. Sure, they closed up the Berlin Wall. Sure they did. You know all the backflow from that went? All the bad feelings, all the backstabbing, selling your country down the toilet for a fucking cup of borscht. It ended up right here. That's where it ended up. Right in our own fucking backyard.
Then you got the Arabs, a bunch of damn sand niggers who scooped up all the wealth that the Jew couldn't carry off with them. Next thing you know, they're buying up Beverly Hills of all things. You find out you're living next door to Sheikh Abdul Mohammed, who's got 10,000 wives, and a man with no balls looking after him. Oh, well, it ain't gonna be no surprise to me when California breaks off and falls into the sea, now will it?
I heard he went down to West Philly because they shorted him some dope, and he smoked 3 brothers before they could even get the pieces out. All right? I wouldn't mess with that crazy fuck.
A great gap in the cosmos has opened wide and sucked him up into the void. He's cold there, very cold and lonely. Dead? Is not death a subjective state? Is not death an illusion to the unenlightened traveler on the road to immortality?
You know, no one's buying all this crap the Ruskies are trying to sell us about peace and all this bullshit. It's all fucking bullshit. You know, I don't trust those guys for a fucking second. You know, if you have a fucking brain in your head, if you know anything, you know, all these guys want to fucking do is buy wheat from us one week, bam, nuke our asses the next. So we stay alert. We stay alert.
First, they let him into the army to protect and serve our country. Well, let me tell you something. I ain't sleeping a whole lot better because of it. Don't ask. Don't tell my ass. I, for one, want to know if the man standing next to me in the shower is coveting my ding-dong with carnivorous intent.
Now, the thing is... Okay. The thing is, there's certain factions in the U.S. government who like to play both ends against the middle. And I guess you know just what the fuck I'm talking about. Shit. Yeah, so every so often, man, one of our own disappears. And, you know, it's a fucking shame, man, but, you know, that's the price you gotta pay to maintain freedom. Freedom.
Then they want to grant to the homosexual the sanctity of connubial bliss, which is clearly prohibited in the Bible, where you don't got a man lying down beside a goat or another man. It would be the end of civilization as we know it. And you know, if you lend legality to something like that, God knows everybody's going to be wanting to try it.
What we had were innuendo and supposition at the hands of the alleged one-time confidant of Elvis. We were being immersed in a world of shadow and doubt. Doors were now being slammed in our faces, and we felt it was prudent to abandon the entire investigation into the Elvis mystery. The water seemed too murky for us to be able to see into the light. A vote was taken among the crew, and it was decided to pursue one final lead. That was the supposed concert the following evening. We were all frightened, but I think our curiosity got the better of us. And we weren't the only ones looking to attend.
Sure, we all knew about the Elvis concerts. It was a big deal to get invited. They were all private parties, and only the elite of the neighborhood got invited.
Everyone knew what was going on behind closed doors. And we all in our heart of hearts wanted to be a part of it, to become one of the chosen few. They all thought that they were so damn wonderful. The real dilemma was finding out just where those concerts were going to be held. And let me tell you something, honey. Security on those were tighter than a virgin's butt.
I was so thrilled when I heard of the secret concerts. I just wanted to get invited. Dare I dream. He was just so darn cute, even in his twilight years, that I just wanted to die. Just die.
We were truly in a place where we were not wanted, and the cold reality of the matter was that we were afraid to go on. Now maybe it was courage, or maybe the magical illusion that's created by being behind the camera, the one truly mystical place that we all know. But we decided to go on, and if Elvis was still alive, there would be one link that was undeniable. Eventually, the head of security for Elvis would have to return to the job of protecting his master. For us, this was the most terrifying part of our journey, because if what we believed were true turned out in fact to be reality, then the only way to protect ourselves would be to keep our distance and hope for this shark not to turn on us. We had our feet wet now, and we were in so far we felt compelled to continue. It was intoxicating, like a roller coaster ride or the first time you played hooky from school. We were being drawn forth by forces that we didn't completely understand. And we knew that the gold we were seeking was just beyond our reach, behind the doors of a small building that sat on the edge of nowhere. We had learned from experience that the front door was usually not the pathway to the truth, and it was the search for that truth that had driven us on. We all knew that now, and we became reckless. We had now crossed over the boundaries of good taste and the law in search of the story we looked for. The only thing that could stop us was that truth, or something else we were afraid to even think of. As we moved onward, my pulse quickened, and I could feel my heart thrust against my chest cavity as if trying to escape into the light of day. And then it happened. We were going to capture the King's performance, the ultimate proof that we needed to bring the curtain crashing down on what was perhaps the greatest hoax in history. The death of Elvis. Yet what we had wandered onto seemed not to be a show at all, but a group of employees setting the arena for a concert. Chairs being set out, floors being swept was not the kind of proof we could take to the bank. We needed to catch a glimpse of the performance if we were going to make the case we'd been so desperate to create. And then suddenly, he appeared. stood frozen and silent, seemingly at the end of our journey. And it was like most journeys, the conclusion of which left us with a feeling of emptiness as we stood before the king. I felt it was important to step forward at this time to explain our decision to discontinue the search for Elvis. It was not lack of interest that motivated us. We felt that we were running for our lives.
Elvis? 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 No, come on. Ah! Elvis, come on, Elvis! Come on, guys, I'm doing this to me. Elvis!
In those few moments, the world seemed to change before our eyes. White became black, black was white. We had spent so much time playing the hunters in pursuit of a story, and now it seemed that the prey had turned on us.
Elvis!
The facts seemed to be getting in the way and conflicting at every point. The pieces of a very twisted puzzle were coming together and casting an eerie light on the circumstances at hand. The past was screaming at us to get out of the way of this freight train moving directly toward us, but like a deer trapped in the frightening luminance of oncoming headlights, we stood frozen. When Mr. Sloman said he did not want the camera to record, we only knew that we had gone as far as we would be permitted to go. We had overstepped the boundaries of common sense, and we understood that the camera, no matter how magical it may seem to us at times, would offer us no further protection. We thought back on all the poor creatures who had spoken to us, and at our sometime amusement at their seemingly insane tales. And now we became afraid. We became very afraid.
Anybody that treats a woman the way that fat bastard did is capable of anything, even murder.
One thing about the poor transient or mental patient that they shanghaied is a substitute for the king's grand finale.
Nobody goes through 12 years of grueling medical school just to push pills and toss some poor transient into an early grave.
We didn't want to know if he had a family or friends. So I know we didn't want to know his name.
Without the concert, without the words that Sloman had spoken, what we had to display was a freak show, surrounded by spectators, fans, curiosity seekers, and more freaks in what would seem to be a shroud of mass hysteria. Without proof, our efforts had become a tabloid expose, and we became the yellow journalists we despise so much. In the wake of losing our integrity, we offer to you what we were able to capture. You may believe it or not. If not, file it away with the flying saucer sightings and the visions of apparitions in the grotto. And remember us the next time you're walking on the beach and you think you see Jim Morrison talking to JFK. But we have seen the light, and we have been through the tunnel. And once you have been through, it is impossible to turn back.
His pockets are deep, and his reach is long. Do you think for 1 minute, he'd think twice about crushing a little bug like me under the grounding heels of his blue suede shoes. You should know that your detective buddy isn't the first one to drop off the face of the planet. If I had to bet the odds, I'd say he's sleeping with the fishes tonight.
But we did manage to come away with one piece of evidence. Something that adds a touch of tangibility to our case. Something which may, in the end, be able to introduce doubt into even the most skeptical of minds. A fan, desperate to capture a magical moment with the king, daringly recorded part of the concert. A copy has been sent to us. And after some thoughtful consideration, we present it to you.
Perhaps in the next life, when our roads touch again, I'll be able to love you the way I wanted to then. It sure was good to see you, but I would have liked to hold you and drift away with you. But I'm fast, lay creeping on around. You stood there frozen, afraid to capture the moment. So I hid behind laughter and shallow hurt that sprinkled the ground. Perhaps in the next life, when our roads touch again, I'll be able to love the way I wanted to then. You looked in my eyes, love, but it wasn't me you saw, love. It was some other person who hurt you a long time ago. It sure was good to see you again, but I would have liked to love you, my friend, for just one brief moment before we died and say goodbye again. Perhaps in the next life, when our roads touch again, I'll be able to love you the way I wanted to. them. I wanted to them. Perhaps in the next life, when our roads touch again, I'll be able to love you.